welcome back to my channel, Mrs. Shank Knits. My name's May and this is Knit With Me number 10. So I think I have settled on filming these right here, though I'm filming a little later than I did and the sun's kind of doing a thing, but it's fine. I'm gonna have to jazz up this wall quite a bit behind me, but I'm just happy that I found a spot that works, because as much as I love this place, and I do, this is probably one of my favorite places we've ever lived, the lighting is terrible in pretty much every room except this one. So I'm happy I found my spot, but yeah, lighting's terrible. That's really hot. Also, can we talk about this mug my friend Tommy made for me? She is incredibly talented at too many things, pottery being one of them. My last name really is Shank, like my name really is May Shank. And saying shank you around here is like, I mean, saying shank is kind of like a stand-in for pretty much anything, like Smurf, you know? Usually shank you just means thank you. We have been known to use it, you know, like toss it around, use it for other things. Anyway, she's one of the dear friends I left behind in California when we moved back to Canada, and I'm working on a secret whip for her because she keeps sending me cute stuff that she makes for me, but I can't talk about the whip or show it to you because I want her to see it first. So I have to finish it secretly, send it to her, and then I can show you. So it'll never be a whip, it'll only be an FO, which is kind of funny. Okay, so let's just jump into FOs. I am wearing my Paysanne blouse, finally knitted, blocked, and all that. The ends are woven in, the whole nine. I'll show you here. Kind of more booby than I meant for that to be, but anyway, and then I'll actually show it to you better here. Yeah, probably better just kind of put it there as I talk about it. So it is very incredibly warm. Like, I thought I was gonna have to change out of it, and hopefully I make it to the end of this without having to change out of it. It's very hot. So I'll talk about the yarn, even though I already talked about it before. This is the Topsy yarn from Vidor here in Ontario. Canadian wool, milled in Canada, hand dyed in Georgetown, Ontario, a little city outside of Toronto, which actually I feel like it's got to be a town, like not because it's called Georgetown, but like I've been to Georgetown and it is tiny. But actually, as I think about it, maybe it's a small city because my judgment is off. I mostly lived in big cities or the woods and like not a lot in between. Anyway, Georgetown is just a couple hours outside of Toronto, and that's where Vidor Yarn Company is based. They have other beautiful bases as well, and I'll show you some over the course of this year because I already have some projects planned with her yarn in my stash. So did I mention how warm this is? I feel like I could wear this with no coat when it's super cold in the mornings and be totally fine. Technically, it's listed as a heavy fingering / sport weight, like light sport weight. I totally agree with that description. It is not perfectly even, which is kind of part of its rustic charm. It definitely is as thin as like a standard fingering in some places, and then arguably like a little thicker than a sport in some other places, but that really just works with the miles of stockinette in a sweater like this. I did not alternate my skeins of yarn, and it did do a thing down here. Like you can see it, it kind of starts like it's gonna do a thing, but not so much, and then you really see it doing the thing more down here, like it's like stripey. But it makes me happy. I think it's cute. The pattern itself was a dream designed by Fable Knitwear. It is one of those perfectly vintage feeling pieces that's not complicated to knit. I did learn something new when I did the neckline and I added the elastic. I had never done that before. That was pretty cool. I had to redo it once to make sure I was getting it right, but now I feel like I could confidently do it again and again. And there was some nice waist shaping and these gorgeous, gorgeous sleeves. I absolutely love these sleeves so much, the way they're shaped. They're kind of tapered, but like there's still a lot of room in them. And I like that you can wear it like up close to your neck like this, like proper, but it can also be like stretched out over. I'm wearing a shirt under it, but you can also like stretch it out over and be like a little scandalous. And I love it, essentially two looks in a one. I've been wearing it with pencil skirts, both like this and kind of stretched over, but I could also wear it with jeans or, you know, whatever, kind of dress it up or down, which I really like. But yeah, I cannot possibly express to you what an incredibly warm winter sweater this yarn makes. Like the Topsy is for winter for sure. And that was my only FO because I now have 10,000 whips. And I've made some finishing touches to my new knitting blog that I'm very happy about. It has 5 sections, and I will leave the link here for you to explore it yourself instead of talking about it. But I will talk about the maker section at the end of this video. that I think you might think is as fun as I think it is, so that'll be at the very end. But we'll do whips now. So right now I actually have 6 whips, and 2 of them are tests. I don't think I have ever had that many at once before, that many things on the needle together before. So I'm actually kind of proud of this. I got my second set of Towie mitts underway. Just kind of open that up here. They're kind of slow going, honestly, because I have to stop every now and then to film the next bit because I'm making a video tutorial out of them. And I have to wait for decent lighting because, as I mentioned, lighting here is garbage. But my first pair was so cute. They have been claimed. So this pair is for me, just in time for spring, when I still need the mitts for dog walking, but I also need my hands free, like my fingers free, for taking pictures of Nacho on my phone. And I know I mentioned already the yarn that I'm using, but I'll mention it again. I'm holding fingering double. So one is Leo and Roxy in the 80/20 sock in quartz, and the other is my hand-dyed experiment done on the Knit Picks Bear Swish yarn. I really enjoy knitting with both of these. I think they feel really nice together. It gives some substance, like it's stretchy and it's not like super hot, but it definitely will be nice in like the springtime when I can have my handies out. Today I cannot have my fingers out, it is too chilly. Okay, and then from here I have 2 pairs of socks. One is the New Wave socks by Sashiko Bergen that I shared last week. I showed you the very, very beginning of it, and honestly, they're not really much further along than they were, to be honest. Not really enough to justify showing you, but here they are. I will talk about the yarn again, though, of course. I'm using a combo of the Retrosaria Mondim and Riverside Studios in a burgundy, like their sock, the Riverside Studios sock, in a burgundy in this variegated pink. This project should have a lot more progress on it over this week, so like over the weekend especially, so hopefully I will have some color changes to show you the next time I pull this out. Also, this pair of socks is part of the M to the 3rd sock stash along 2022 that I mentioned last week, so I'm hoping to finish these socks as an entry for that cal this month. And the second pair of socks, I have to reach for them, one sec. I thought they were within reach and they were not. Okay, so the second pair of socks with one of my favorite stitch markers on it is the first test knit that I'm going to show you today. This is the beginning of the Spring Bloom socks by the Knit Savvy. So far, I'll show you here. So far I have found the pattern to be very easy to read and navigate, and I'm loving the pattern that has emerged. Like, it is so pretty. The socks themselves are kind of like shorties, so this is it. Like, I'm about to this little baby heel flap situation here, just starting the heel flap, and there's some nice touches in here, like just some nice little details in here that are fun to knit, but also like give it a nice look that I think I will write a pattern notes thing about and put that on the blog so you can kind of take a peek at that after the pattern is released, just, you know, to respect everybody's timeline on that. But yeah, so they're kind of shorties because it stops here, whereas normally it might be twice as long or maybe even a little bit longer. Yeah, so I'm already at the heel, so definitely this will be done in a couple of days, and I should have at least 1 if not 2 to share as FOs, or 8 FOs. So isn't that funny? When you make socks, it's not like it's 2 things, but it's actually 1 thing. You only get 1 FO out of 2 socks. One detail about these socks that I will note is the striping within the stitch pattern that's coming out. It's so dainty, and I swear that striping or ribbing really of any kind is a great way to keep your knitting ego in check. Like, if you think you're an expert knitter, try to knit stripes or ribbing without making any mistakes. Or maybe that's just me. Oh my gosh, look. Sorry to interrupt myself. All of our windows have this, like, I don't even know what you would call it, but it has like a thing over it that produces this amazing rainbow effect from every window, but the light has to hit it in just the right way. So I suppose this time of day is actually a great time to film if I want this prism behind me, but every time the sun moves, it's gone. So I don't know, is that just me with the ribbing? Like, can you do ribbing without messing that up at all? Actually, that is a great seg into my other active test. Oh, but it isn't. Okay, so it is. I forgot to talk about the yarn though. It would have been a great seg into the next test because there's a lot of ribbing at the start. And I realized that I messed it up twice. So you'd think I haven't been knitting for like almost 20 years, but I have. Anyway, that'll wait a sec. This yarn. So this yarn that I chose for the Spring Blooms test, this is Forbidden Fibers in Scarlet Witch. I have had this yarn in my stash for 3 years. Since Forbidden Fibers did a collection of Marvel inspired yarns for their Sock of the Month Club. Or the Sock of the Month Club at the time anyway, and I subscribed to it, and I have a collection of their Marvel inspired yarns in my stash. I think actually I've knit up 2 of them, but I was in that Sock of the Month Club for like a year, so I have quite a bit left over. Anyway, I thought this was perfect for the project because it's a little sparkle for like the fun of a test knit and a little variegation without the pattern getting like lost in the yarn. So anyway, yeah, I want to talk about that yarn. So now on to the second test with the wobbly or sometimes wobbly ribbing that I was talking about, and I'm very tangled, so I need to fix this first. Sorry. Okay, so this is the beginning of, like, the very, very, very beginning of the Mini Vee Tee by Nicole Thorson of Thorson Knits. I love the style of this tee. Here it is. Because it has the cutest little sleeves and a sweet little V in the neckline to match. And I won't really know until I can try it on, but I do have a feeling that this is going to be one of those designs that you can like style to be proper or style with a little scandal. And I love that, as you know. I think it just all hinges on how deep that V goes and what bra you're wearing underneath it, really. I knew when I saw it that I wanted to wear this all summer. Like, I don't ever want to knit anything again that I'm not going to wear or use a lot. So I went with a really light yarn. The pattern calls for fingering weight. So I'm using the Sandnes Garn Petit Knit collab yarn called Sunday. I originally bought it for a different pattern maybe 2 years ago. And to be fair, I really wasn't even married to it being used for that pattern, but I have had it for a couple years now. It's this like really pretty light pink. It's called Raspberry Sorbet, like the cutest name too. And this is one of those yarns that like, it's, oh man, I wanted it so bad when I first saw it, like when it first came out. And then once I had it, I was like afraid to use it because it was so precious, you know? But I'm learning a lot about my stash this year as I knit through it all. And I am not saving any yarn for some like future unplanned magical project anymore. I just needed like 1,000 yards of fingering in a single color, and this was one of my options, so I just decided to go for it because I've never knit with it, and I bought it because it was so precious and I wanted to knit with it, so I'm finally knitting with it. And I like the way that the yarn feels as I'm knitting with it. It's like a little luxe but nothing over the top. It's kind of nice, feels nice on my hands, and the fabric that it makes is really nice too. There's not much to show on this, obviously. I'm not gonna, yeah, like it's just ribbing. There's like quite a bit of ribbing in it, so it's gonna take me a minute, but it's gonna be great. So that was 4 of 6. The 5th is my beekeeper's quilt, and I literally have 3 hexipuffs to add to my running total, like literally 3. So I have like 3.5, so the half will be added to next week. But yeah, I've got 3 combination of Forbidden Fiber and Hue Loco in here. So I have a grand total now of 559 puffs, which means that I need 441, 441 more to reach my goal of 1,000 before I try putting it together again. Like, I actually tried putting it together back in California when I had about 500, but 500 will give you like a little lap blanket, and I want one to like curl up and knit with. So I'm going for 1,000 before I start assembling again. I have like a blob that I already kind of assembled, so I'm just going to add to the blob. But yeah, I'm not adding to that blob at all until I hit 1,000. And then my final whip is my Folklore Cardigan, which I kind of don't even want to talk about, but I will anyway, because I think sharing our fails is just as important as sharing our wins, and it might not be a fail. So last week I showed you the little baby sleeve, and I'll drag it out again, but I showed you this cute little baby sleeve, and I went on about like how cute it is, blah 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 blah. Like, here we go. Okay, my little baby sleeve here. What's wrong? Yeah, there you go. No, wrong side. No, yeah. Anyway, my baby sleeve. This is the correct side. I'm sorry. Okay, like how cute. And I don't know why it took me so long to realize, but the main cable that's on the back of the sweater, which is this in here, yes, I will show you the main cable. I mean, I can just show you a picture, but this main cable in the middle, this diamond cable, which is like the part of the design that like holds all the pieces together. Do you know what I mean? It is missing from the arm. And I know I saw a picture, like I know, like, well, I mean, there it is. So it's on the back of the arm. And yeah, like it just occurred to me that it isn't on the back of my arm. So I went like digging through the pattern to see like what could I have, what did I do wrong? So anyway, it turns out that I had mixed up the front panels with the arms. This is knit like back, front panel, and then 2 arms, right? So I can hardly believe that that happened. I think it happened because I was cocky and overconfident going into this project because I feel like I know what I'm doing. But really, I've never done a sweater like this before. Like I have done a lot of sweaters and I've done a lot of cabling, but I've never done a sweater in pieces like that. And I guess there's some panel management that I just hadn't thought about. So my back panel is fine, I think. Like I don't think I mucked that up. The back panel's fine. But I have to make sure that the front panel is actually the right stitch count and cable design, because like as I was knitting it thinking that it was the arm. So like it looks, when I go through my notes, it looks like I just cast on and started doing the front panel. But I want to make sure I didn't accidentally follow any arm directions in the middle of all that. So maybe it's not a fail, and it's a perfectly good front panel, but I'm not entirely sure until I really dissect it to like go over it and make sure I did it right. I am still loving this pattern though, and I actually think I mentioned a while ago, like the last video or the one before, that my friend Sid is knitting this too, and she is actually on the arms right now. She's knitting the proper arms, and she just realized that she has to rip back too. So I feel like it is challenging us both in different ways, even though I feel like I know what I'm doing, but obviously not. So yeah, that's it for whips, which is kind of exciting because I'm proud that I managed to get through all 6 of them, although they're all inching forward because there's so many of them. I hope I have a couple FOs next week, but at this rate, I may end up with more cast-ons, so who knows. Also, none of these whips required any new yarn at all. So all of this is from stash yarn, which means that all of it qualifies for the Haberdashery Makers Dozen Make-Along, which is super fun, and I couldn't say her name like 2 weeks ago, and now I'm saying it right. The only rule for this knit along, or make along, sorry, is that the project has to be like finished, obviously has to be an FO, made with your stash. So like even older whips count. So that means that all of these count, which is so fun. And I think for me, it's just about like managing the different whips so they're all worked on, like not necessarily all worked on an equal amount of time, but just like none of them are horribly neglected like this sweater was for ages. Like I cast on this sweater, I think I mentioned last week. Now I'm saying I can't remember if I cast on at the end of 2020. I think I did. I cast this on at the end of 2020 and I just finished it, which is like ridiculous. Anyway, I just don't want anything sitting in the whip basket for like a month. And yeah, I think I'm just going to abruptly end this here because I am now overheating in this delightful sweater. It's great for layering. This is a fantastic winter yarn. I also want to get this edited and uploaded today. I'm actually filming and posting this on Wednesday because I like the idea of doing a video like this on like Whip Wednesday, whatever. But I think next week I'll film it on Tuesday and post it on Wednesday. So I'll have like one less day of knitting to show. But if I keep up with that trend, it'll end up being the same anyway. So anyway, I want to tell you about a fun little section on my blog called Makers, and it's home to interviews with folks from the fiber arts community. I just thought that would be so fun. I just started it, so there is just one interview in there right now. It's with Katie of Mindfulness Makes. She makes the most adorable stitch markers. 2 of them were in this video actually, which is funny because see, I actually used them. Look, those were 2 of them. I did not mean to put them in here, but they're actually from the same kind of collection. She did these like candy guys. Can you see that? Maybe not. Anyway, and this guy. She also has some beautiful hand-dyed yarn in her shop and different bases too. So links in the description, of course, for you to go take a peek at that. I would love some feedback on that. You can come back and comment here or just leave a comment on the post. It's cool too. But yeah, that's all I've got this week. I'm very excited about the website though, so I would love, love, love to hear feedback about that. So I did make some progress on my dog sweater design actually before I go, but I think I'm going to go up a needle size to make the cables a little bigger and just kind of help them pop a little bit more. So I'm going to wait until next week to share that with you, but that's like another thing that I'm not showing you that I did. So Tommy's whip Tommy's thing in progress, and also my cable dog sweater pattern that I'm working on. I've been watching a lot of knitting podcasts here on YouTube lately as I've been knitting, and there are so many fun knitters out there making videos. I would love suggestions from you guys, so like always. So feel free to comment with other accounts so we can kind of all check them out. I know there's lurkers that watch these videos and do not comment, but if they're all watching knitters on YouTube, then everybody would love to see those. So please share those. But yeah, that's it for me. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, show some support. And if you're new to the channel and you like this casual knitting vlog / podcast style, subscribe for more, because I plan to put them out every week, and you can find daily whip updates in my stories over on Instagram. So if you're not following me, I am Mrs. Shank Knits over there. Thanks guys, bye.